The nation's consumer supply chain faces severe disruptions if dock workers at ports along the East and Gulf Coast go on strike. A deadline is fast approaching. CBS's Tim McNicholas is in Jersey City, New Jersey, with details and possible fallout. Tim, good evening.
Good evening, Jerika. The U.S. Maritime Alliance has until October 1st to reach a deal with dock workers. And ports like this one in Jersey City, New Jersey are ramping up work in anticipation of a possible stoppage. Work at some of the busiest ports in North America could soon come to a halt.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down.
The union, which represents more than 40,000 longshoremen at 36 ports, including major hubs like Charleston, Houston, and Miami, is demanding wage increases as well as protection from job-killing automation.
I've been fighting automation for years. They destroyed L.A.
Workers are threatening to strike if a new labor agreement with shipping companies represented by the United States Maritime Alliance is not reached by October 1st.
All activity in the Port of New York and New Jersey with regards to containerized cargo and automobile cargo will cease.
Each year, more than $200 billion worth of goods, including car parts, construction materials, and produce pass through the Port of New York and New Jersey alone. That trade supports more than 500,000 local jobs.
A 2-week strike could, cause these disruptions to feed into early 2025.
Ryan Sweet with Oxford Economics says if a deal isn't reached in time, a stoppage could disrupt more than half of U.S. shipping traffic.
A possible port strike in the United States is just days away. It could have a major impact on the global supply chain and cost the U.S. economy billions of dollars. The strike would hit a total of 36 ports along the East Coast and the Gulf of Mexico if a deal isn't reached by October 1st. Up to 45,000 dock workers, represented by the International Longshoremen Union, are demanding a 77% pay raise over 6 years and protections against automation. They currently earn a base pay of $39 an hour, or just over $81,000 a year. The workers and port bosses in the dispute have not met to negotiate since June, and no further contract talks have been scheduled. Experts say the U.S. economy could take a more than $3 billion hit per day, with between 43 and 49% of all U.S. imports being at stake as the deadline moves closer ahead of the holiday shopping season. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg discussed the possible outcome on CNBC.
A couple of years ago, there were things coming to a head on the West Coast. It resulted in workers getting a historic contract, a much-deserved raise, and a number of other provisions that were also compatible with the companies succeeding. And of course, with any labor negotiation, the outcome you're looking for is one that is workable for the business end and delivers the kinds of things that workers need and deserve.
President Joe Biden has said he will not invoke a national law to prevent the workers from going on strike. Some retailers are already planning in advance to redirect freight through the West Coast.
Thousands of dock workers along the U.S. East and Gulf Coast are threatening to strike within the next 2 weeks. It's a move that would shut down ports that handle about half of the nation's cargo from ships. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, joins us. And Jeff, if a strike happens, dozens of industries could feel the effects. What are the dock workers asking for?
The focus is on two things, Dee Dee. Better pay and a ban on the automation of cranes, gates, also container movements. The International Longshoremen's Association says if those conditions aren't figured out by October 1st, they will strike. Jason Miller, a professor of supply chain management at Michigan State, tells us the ILA is looking for pay increases around 77 to 78%.
That is far higher than the roughly 32 to 39% that have been offered by the USMX.
Miller says the union is also demanding automation gets kept the way it is,
because it views automation as a threat to jobs.
If a strike does happen, over 40,000 dock workers along the U.S. East and Gulf coasts will walk off the job on October 1st, something Miller says is concerning concerning since those ports process between 50 and 60% of the goods that come into the U.S.,
This is millions upon millions of tons of freight.
including auto parts, a specific industry Miller believes will significantly feel the effects of a strike.
The German automakers with operations in the southern United States, they're importing a lot of components from their suppliers in Germany.
Piyush Shah, a professor who also focuses on supply chain management, tells us, aside from the auto industry, these ports also handle a lot of agriculture and poultry.
These time-sensitive cargo, we might see a lot of damages.
Plus, he says imports from Europe like wine, spirits, beer, and certain chemicals could be impacted as well.
All European imports are more in danger than the Chinese.
Now, if the strike does happen, experts say ports on the West Coast could pick up some additional cargo, but not all of it. Neither could the U.S. rail system.